tutorial by LearnFast Studios.
Welcome back. In this session, I would like to explain you about how we can use the pointers to access the structures. Before we learn how to use the pointers to the structures, let us see an example how the structure can be used in our programs. A structure is said to be as a collection of the heterogeneous elements. This is widely used when you want to club more than one data type variable together as in one single variable. A structure is defined by using the keyword called as a struct. So its syntax is given like struct space the structure name. In this example, let me take the structure name as a student, and then opening bracket, closing bracket, semicolon. Within this brackets, we need to give what are the different type of the variables that we need to embed as in one single customized user defined data type. For example, I want to club one integer variable, say roll number, and then in string char name of the size 100, which is a character array, and then float percentage all together as in one single data type. So from now onwards, struct student is a data type which is of the size for integer which occupies 4 bytes of the memory, for name which occupies 100 into 1 byte which is 100 bytes, for percentage which occupies 4 bytes since the float is 4 bytes in a 64-bit compiler. Suppose if we want to declare any variable, then we will be using general syntax like data type space variable name. We use a similar kind of the syntax for declaring a structure variable. Since our structure is a student structure, so we need to give the data type as struct space student, and whatever the variable that we want to give, we have to give that variable name. I just want to give a variable name as an a, so likewise I can give. From now onwards, if we want to a is allocated with 108 bytes of the memory, since char will occupy 100 bytes, float will occupy 4 bytes, int will occupy 4 more bytes. So totally how the memory will be allocated, let us see with a diagram. When you define a structure, the memory allocation will not be done. It will give the direction to the compiler. From now onwards, if you declare any variable of the type struct student, it should have 3 different memory locations. So since we are having 3 different memory locations, now I just wanted to show you, draw what are those 3 memory locations. The first memory location is a roll number RNO, and then second memory location which is of the 100 bytes, since the size is 100 bytes of the data. This is a name variable, and then third one is in percentage. Every variable which is declared of the type struct student, here we declare the variable a is of the type struct student, which is an user defined data type. then it will create this sort of the memory block inside the memory containing of the three different variables: roll number, which is of the size 4 bytes, name, which is of the size 100 bytes, and percentage, which is of the 4 bytes. All the memory will be allocated contiguously at one single place. Now, all this memory location will be named after the variable name, which is our A. Unlike your traditional array, here if we want to access the roll number location, we will use a special kind of a operator called as an dot operator, which is called as an accessor operator. So using this accessor operator, I can access the memory location which is allocated for any structure variable. Suppose if we want to read the value of the structures, then we can use the scanf %d, comma, ampersand a dot rno. Similarly, I can also read the values percentages for the name, percentage f for the percentage, and then a dot name. Since the name is of this type string, we are not giving that ampersand symbol here, and then a dot ampersand a dot percentage. So this is how I can read all the three variables which belong to this A. So A will be having three different variables: roll number, name, and then percentage, which maybe we can assume like one record of the student. Similarly, you can declare any number of the students. Similarly, if we want to display the same, we simply use a similar kind of the structure, but with the printf statement. So printf will display the content as mentioned in the format specifier on the output screen. So roll number is, and then we can write down the backslash n, name is \n percentage is. Now let us execute this code and check. Let us enter the three values for the roll number. It is say 10, and then name, let us give Sham, and then this percentage, let us say 97.5, and if you display that, we are going to get the values 10, Sham, and then 97.5 respectively. So this is how we can store the different type of the data types into one single variable name, and we can access using this variable name with a special kind of the operator called as an dot operator, which is also known as an accessor. Now let us declare a pointer for this structure. Normally, if we want to declare a pointer for any integer variable, then we will declare, for example, if it is an integer type, int k. Suppose if we want to store the address of this k, then that pointer should also be of the same type, and preceded by the star. So ptr1. Now ptr can hold address of another integer type. So this is the meaning of the ptr1. This is the meaning of the ptr1. For example, if we want to store the address of a structure student type, then we need to declare the pointer which is also should be of the type structure student. How we can declare that? Struct student star ptr2. I right now I don't want this integer pointer. I am just keeping that in comment. Now we are having a variable called as a star ptr. Now what will happen inside this memory? It this will occupy again 4 bytes of the memory irrespective of the data type, and then name it as ptr to say at the location 600. For example, if we store the value 100 and this will be at 104, this will be at 204, and then ending will be 208. And now what we need to do in order to access this, first we need to store the address of this A to ptr2. So initially the first step is we need to declare the pointer for this structure student. Then what we need to do, we need to initialize this pointer. In order to initialize the pointer, we use ptr2 equal to address of A. So this will simply store the value 100 into this ptr2 memory location. From now onwards, whatever you reference with the ptr2 is easily accessible to this location 100. So that is how we are initializing this pointer variable. From now onwards, in order to access the member variables of the structure using the pointer, we use a special kind of the operator called as an arrow operator. So this arrow operator is a combination of minus and greater than. It is just displayed just like this. So we need to use this arrow operator in order to access all the member variables using the pointer. This arrow operator is nothing but ampersand and star and then dot operator both combined together, and then the meaning of these two will be equivalent to this arrow operator. So instead of these two, we will be using this arrow operator from now onwards. So let us try to read the values using the pointer. In order to read the values using the pointer, we will use the same scanf statement. Instead of A, now I am going to write down the ptr2. And then instead of the dot operator, why this dot operator is used? Dot operator is used to access the member variables of a variable, but ptr2, since ptr2 is a pointer, we need to use the arrow operator. Now we need to do these two replacements, and then now here instead of A, ptr2. Similarly, dot operator, we need to replace that with arrow. Similarly here A with ptr2 and then dot operator, arrow. Why we need to give this ptr2 instead of A? Because ptr2 is holding the address of A, so that is the reason instead of the A I am using the ptr to indirectly use the same address location. Similarly, for the display purpose also we do the same. So A is replaced with the ptr2 and then dot will be replaced with the arrow. As simple as that. ptr2 and then dot is arrow. ptr2 and this arrow. That's all. So now what we have done, we first initially declare a variable for this struct student, and then we declared a variable for this struct student and a pointer to the struct student. Then we initialize the address of the variable to the pointer. Then we learned that arrow operator is used to access the member variables using the pointer. That is the only difference compared to the variable. Now let us save this code, build this, execute. It is asking for the three values. Let us say same 10, and now this is row v, and then let us give 89.4. That's all. Now we could able to access the variable a using the pointer type, and we can also use the notations. Instead of declaring here, we can also declare directly here, just simply replacing that with a comma star ptr2. That doesn't make any difference. Otherwise we can also declare here struct ptr, which will, now this a and star ptr will become global variables. If we want to access inside this main function only, then we will be using the local variable. Otherwise, if we want to use it throughout the program, then we will be using declaring them as in global variable or external variable. So I will discuss this in the storage classes. Now let us try to understand what is, how this memory is allocated here. Uh, so After this, let us just print what before doing that, let us just try to print what are the addresses in which this roll number, name, and then percentage are pointing. So printf percentage u comma percentage u comma percentage u comma ampersand ptr2 arrow roll number, first one. Similarly, ampersand ptr2 arrow name comma ampersand ptr2 arrow percentage. That's all. Now this is address of roll number, address of name, address of percentage. As simple as that. Now for understanding purpose, I am just making it as in backslash n, and then after this some backslash n. Just for the clear understanding, there is no significance for this backslash n here, and then here also backslash n. That's all. File save, execute this code and check. Now if you observe that initially this is beginning at the location say 80, and then since roll number occupies 4 bytes, name is starting at the 884, then name is of the character array of the size maximum 100 bytes. So now it has taken this 100 byte size. Now it is taking 100 bytes starting at this 984. So that is how it is pointing, that pointer is used to point to the addresses of the variable where we store the structure. Uh, okay, now let us write down one program where we can pass the address of the structure to a function and then perform an operation. In order to do that, simply what we can do, we write down one function called as an void read student. Then here we will write down struct student star ptr2. That's all. Now this is the function definition, so I'm just using the same statement here and then reading all the values. That's all. Similarly, I just wanted to add one more function. How I can do that? Simply copy paste. Now this is for display student, and then using the same thing and simply replacing this code of the scanner here. Okay, we defined two of the functions. Now these two functions will are accepting or expecting struct student variable address. So what we can do, simply I'm just removing this and then making the function call here. In order to do the function call, we need to write down the read student, and then we need to pass the address of A. Similarly, display student, and then we need to pass address of A. As simple as that. So here I'm just removing this part, all this part, and then simply declaring these two local variables to prevent the access only, right? So struct student, I need a variable, say A. That's all. I declared one variable and reading this variable through the function read student. How I can do that? Simply I am passing the address of A. This address is now stored into the ptr2, and this scanf statement will help us to read the three elements into ampersand ptr roll number ampersand ptr2 name. Why I have not given ampersand here? Since it is a string value, we need not to give this ampersand here. And then next we use that ampersand ptr2 percentage. Now whatever the values that you read using this ptr2 will get stored in A, because we are using the pointer to point to the same address where that A is located. So that is the reason whatever the values that you read without any return statement or without returning any value, passing back to the main function. Similarly, we are calling the student function. Here also we are passing the address of A, and then here we are displaying the value. So I'm just removing these two, save, and then execute. So now it is asking for the values 10, let us say Gopi, and then this time it is 65.5. That's all. So that is how our program will work even for the functions. That is how structure pointers can be used as an arguments um, for the functions. So this type of the functions are called as an call by reference functions. Since we are not passing the value, we are passing the address of the variable, so this is said to be as an call by reference type of the function. That's all for this session. Thank you for listening, and as an assignment I want you to create a structure of a book with the number of pages, price, and then author name. Let me explain you here. So I need three columns: the number of pages, then price, and then author name. So these are the three values that I want to read under any book. And I would like to ask you to write a C program to define the structure, and then use the pointer to read the values as well as in display the values using directly in the main function as well as in using the functions. That's all for this day. Thank you.